Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. As always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Recher podcast. Happy, Monday? It's a Monday. Not a victory Monday, unfortunately. Maybe there'll be a victory. No victory Tuesday. No games tonight. But victory Wednesday. Can we get a double dip of the Rays and the Lightning winning? Hopefully we can get that. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. We want to hear from you. Plenty to get into today on the program. Wow. What is going on with our Tampa Bay Rays? I don't get it, man. I don't get it. A lot of people that were drinking the Kool-Aid going into the season. I try to warn you guys, try to tell you that this was a possibility, but everybody just blind faith. I don't get it. I really, really don't get it when it comes to the Tampa Bay Rays. We're going to break it down a little bit here at 12:15. In a couple minutes, we'll give you an update from Lightning practice today. Today is the final practice at Amalie Arena before the first game of the playoffs for our Bolts tomorrow night at Amalie Arena. Of course, there'll be morning skate, but it's probably going to be a lot less intense than what we saw on Saturday and then what we saw today at Amalie. 8:30 puck drop tomorrow night. It is going to be a late one, so I'm letting you guys know now. Morning skate has gotten pushed back. So morning skate will be later tomorrow than it usually is. Usually it's around 10:30. I can stay for about an hour, and then I can head back and do the show. So what I am going to do tomorrow is the show tomorrow is going to start at 1 o'clock. So there's going to be certain days that the show is going to start. Most of the days are going to be at noon. But for a day like tomorrow, and for a day like, depending on what the morning skate is going to look like on the road, because I will be going down to South Florida, some of our shows are going to be at 1 o'clock. Now, if I'm driving, we might have to move it back. So just keep an eye out on all of my social media platforms to find out when I will be live. But I think it's important to be there on location for you, whether it's here at Amalie Arena when the games are here in Tampa, or if the team travels on the road. So they will obviously be in South Florida, down there in Sunrise. So it's Tuesday and Thursday at Amalie, and then Saturday and Monday for the away games, for games 3 and 4. I will be down there. Eric Erlinson, Eddie and Cena are going to be down there as well. So we don't know if we're going to leave Friday yet or Saturday. We will definitely keep you guys abreast of the situation. But again, follow me on all social media platforms at Recher. I'll announce to you. I'll let you know where I will be and what time we'll be live. But as far as we know, today at 12, tomorrow at 1, Wednesday at 12, and then Thursday will probably be back at 12 again because the game is a little earlier. It's at 6:30 on Thursday, so the morning skate's actually at 9:30 instead of 10:30. So as of now, 12 o'clock today, 1 o'clock tomorrow, then 12 o'clock Wednesday and Thursday. We'll play the rest by ear. Also on the show today at 12:30, Ian Beckles stops by for his weekly chat. The NFL draft is this week, so a lot of buzz around the National Football League, including things that Adam Schefter, ESPN Insider, is hearing when it comes to teams that are trading up and teams that are trading down. The Buccaneers are one of those teams that apparently are in the mix for trading down. And if you remember, when we spoke about this a couple of months ago, I said that the Buccaneers have a much better chance of trading down than trading up. If the guy that they, like, let's say Will Johnson is that guy that they'll say, all right, I'll stay at 19. But if you can trade down, get another second or third round pick, knowing that you have multiple spots on the defensive side to fortify, why not trade down? You might still be able to get your pass rusher there or your inside linebacker. Like, let's say at 19 you trade down to 25, and then at 25 you can still get a Donovan Ezaraku as a pass rusher out of BC, or you can still get Jahad Campbell to be your linebacker, right? I like that. I think it makes a lot of sense. And if there's anything that we've learned from a guy like Jason Light, is he knows he has such a good job. He does such a good job of his finger on the pulse and kind of the temperature of the draft. So I'm excited for the NFL draft coming up. Again, we'll talk to Ian about that at 12:30 today. At 1 o'clock, the legend is going to join us on the program. USF softball coach Ken Eriksen, former U.S. Olympic coach. I ran into him at the baseball game on Friday night. Good to see the Bulls take 2 of 3 from Charlotte. Unfortunately, they lost game 3. They were down 5-0 in the bottom of the ninth. They were able to get 3, but just come back a little short. 2 walk-offs Friday and Saturday. But I saw him at the baseball game. The softball ladies, a clean sweep of Memphis. What is going right for them? Coach Ken Eriksen joins us at 1 o'clock today. And then at 1:25, a full-blown WrestleMania 41 recap. Did you watch it? Did you tune in? The granddaddy of them all from Sin City, night 1, night 2. I got a lot. I got a lot of thoughts coming up on the program. We'll do that at 1:25 today. We'll start with the Tampa Bay Lightning and everything going on right now over at Amalie Arena. And this is from our friend Gabby Shirley. Here's what the lines are looking like right now. And this should give you an idea of what it's going to look like tomorrow. Line 1, Yanni Gore, Braden Point, and Nikita Kucherov. No surprise there. You got Cirelli centering Hagel to his left, Jake Gensel to his right. Nick Paul with Connor Geeky and Gage Gonsalves flanking him on the wing. Luke Glendening and Zemgus Girgensons playing with Chafee and Atkinson mixing in. And then you're going 7 defense. Hedman, Moser, McDonough, Chernak, Perbix, and Lilleberg with Radish there as well. And this, to me, says that all signs point to the I was going to say the Bucks. I got football in the brain. All signs point to them going 11-7 tomorrow night. It also points that Luke Glendening is healthy. And if you missed it, I was actually hosting Lightning Power Lunch yesterday with Dave Mishkin. We recorded it at 9 in the morning. So I know some people were asking, like, hey, you guys going to take questions? And we recorded at 9. I would have did it at 12 because I was just moving yesterday. And, I know a lot of people had Easter stuff going on, so that's why it was pre-recorded. They're going to do Lightning Power Lunch on the weekends as well. So you might catch me on there too. And you might catch me on the Lightning Radio Network maybe in a couple weeks if the Lightning are able to advance to the second round. We shall see. Keep an eye out for that. But we know Luke Glendening being in there is big. It's big for the penalty kill. It's big for that fourth line. He's great on faceoffs. That right-handed, Stammer got so much better over the last couple of years with the faceoffs. Braden Point, that's just not really his bag during the regular season. He is better in the postseason when it comes to draws, but Luke Glendening is so important. Winning those draws, and when you're going against a guy like Sasha Barkov, who consistently, year in, year out, is one of the best at the faceoff dot, you need every single complement of your faceoff guys. And if Luke Glendening is in the lineup right now, I feel very, very good about him being available. And it seems like for the second year in a row, it's a shoulder injury. If he can fight through that, that'll be big. And you hear the lines, all right? Kucherov playing with Gordon. Like, it's not going to change right now. This is how it's going to go. But we know John Cooper likes to put his lines into a blender. And I've been on record, and it seems like it's getting more and more and more. And I want to play that for you real quick because people are wondering, what is it? What is it about this change? What is it about this guy that you think would work really well on a line with Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point? Let's see if I can find it here. Man, we're going to get into this WrestleMania 41 stuff, man. I'll tell you. Holy smokes. I have so many notifications. My God. Let me keep going. All right. 5 seconds. If I don't find it, we're going to move on. God. All right, here we go. I knew I was going to find it. All right. So, this right here. This is the guy I want to see with Kucherov and Points. I want more of Connor Geeky with 21-86. I think Connor Geeky is the closest thing to Andre Palat that we have seen since Pally left for New Jersey in free agency. And I think he's got more offensive upside. He's a left-handed guy who's got quick release. He's a big dude, not afraid to play a physical game. I know Yanni Gourde's the guy in that spot right now. But to me, Connor Geeky playing with Braden Point, Nikita Kucherov, that could be the best line in the playoffs. Because that is going to force that kid to shoot the puck. Keep shooting the puck. He has an incredible release. And when you're playing with Nikita Kucherov and Braden Point, you know that you're going to have open ice and you know you're going to have opportunities to fire the puck on net. So please, John Cooper and the Lightning coaching staff, at some point, I want to see Connor Geeky on a line with Braden Point and Nikita Kucherov. So there you go. And I know right now it's going to be the way it is because, Yanni Gourde has got the chemistry with those guys. But something to be cognizant of is that Yanni is not a guy. Listen, he's not a top six forward. Like, he's just not. I love the guy. But if he gets into a position where they're going to back off of him and he's not shooting the puck or he's not scoring goals, then they got to make a switch there. I know what he brings defensively. I know what he brings speed-wise. But you're talking about your first line. Your first line has to put the puck in the back of the net. Look at what Jake Gensel did in that spot, right? So we know Gensel playing on the line with Hagel Sorelli. I love how it elongates their lineup, but just keep an eye out for that. I do like the third line. Listen, I'm not saying this because I don't like what the third line looks like with, I was going to say Jake Paul or Logan Paul. No, Nick Paul, their cousin. He's not their cousin. Maybe. I don't know. I should ask him. Paul, Gonsalves, and Chafee, because Gage has really played a lot better too. It's the confidence in those young guys. They have to play with that same confidence down the stretch in the playoffs, because you know when you're going up against Florida, whether they don't have the same amount of talent or what, they're not going to go into this series all wide-eyed and unknowing of what is going to happen. The moment isn't going to be too big for these guys, right? But the great unknown is like how much that Stanley Cup experience is going to pay off, or like how much is it going to make up for the lack in, I think, some of the guys that they lost, right? Losing Stenlund, losing Ryan Lomberg, losing a guy like Montour. I'm not sold that Brad Marchand is a guy that is going to be a big-time factor other than maybe a goal here or there. Now, when he scores them, it could be, pay dividends big time, but I've watched him play multiple times this year. He is not the same skater. He did not get a ton of ice time for Team Canada in the Four Nations. This is a guy that was a top six forward for them a couple of years ago, playing on a line with Sidney Crosby and Patrice Bergeron. It's not the same guy. If he was better, Boston might be in the playoffs. And Seth Jones, I'm not buying Seth Jones. Just not. This is not the same Seth Jones that was at Columbus that swept this team back in 2019. That was a long time ago. And people could say, and Dave Mishkin and I had this conversation yesterday, and he was like, well, he was on a bad team in Chicago. Let's not forget, when people look at players and go, well, they were on a bad team, well, you contribute to that. Like, that's on you. Part of the reason why they weren't as good is because he wasn't as good. And awful turnover in that game 82 for them, and fine, the intensity won't be the same. That's great, but I don't know, man. They don't scare me as much as they did last year. Last year going into that series, it was like, man, Florida seems to be really finding their groove. They went to the Stanley Cup final the year before. This year it's a little different. There's a lot of question marks on the Florida side. So we'll see. I'm very excited to see what happens. Again, tomorrow night, 8:30. I will be live at Amalie Arena tomorrow. Time for the show will start at 1 p.m. Again, no Oliver Bjorkstrand on the ice. We're not going to see him this series. John Cooper told us that on Saturday. We can hope that Ollie can get better and hopefully be available for round 2 if the Lightning make it that far. Again, Game 7 should be in a couple Sundays on my 40th birthday. I was talking to my mom and dad. They said, you're definitely going to the game. They know me. Even my family's going to be down here, but I'll be at that game for sure, May 4th. The big 4-0 for JR. All right, let's get into this race stuff. And I want to hear from you, okay? get on the line here. This is the link, StreamYard.com/9KDSHF8V3I. Put this on your phone. Put this on your laptop. What is going on with the Rays? I look at this team. It's just embarrassing. Embarrassing weekend for the Rays. Only win over New York is a victory where the Yankees bullpen faltered. This has been a 2025 to forget. I mean, a 5-8 homestand. 5-8. And it's amazing how many people were buying the rhetoric from the Rays and not just looking at how the roster is constructed. I mean, at what point do we stop buying some of this stuff and start analyzing this team for what they really are? I don't want to hear anybody tell me about how great the Rays have been over the last decade. Enough with that. Tell me how they are going to be good in 2025. Don't give me the Shane McClanahan injury. It's one guy. One guy. Other guys need to pick it up. And the guy that you brought in, Joe Boyle, threw his ass off in that one game. Right? I don't want to hear anything about the history of this team in the last 10 years and they've done more with less. I don't want to hear that. That's falling on deaf ears. They've won one playoff game since the 2020 World Series, and they've gotten progressively worse. They won one playoff game in 2021. They won 0 in 2022, 0 in 2023, and they missed the playoffs in 2024. Honestly, are you confident that they're going to turn it around? Give me a real reason why they're going to turn it around. Here's the StreamYard link right here. Get on the freaking line. If you are a believer, or maybe you're not a believer, get on the line right now and tell me. Tell me why you have faith and confidence in this team. Everybody that had a belief that this team was going to be a playoff team this year, what did they tell you going into the season? Well, they have all of these games at home. They're facing some lowly teams there in the beginning of the season, playing Colorado and playing Pittsburgh. As long as they're this, as long as they're that, they should be fine. Should, could, would. I'm sorry. The way that these rosters are being constructed, it's just not working. It's not working. At what point do these guys go back to the drawing board? We keep hearing that they don't want to go into a full rebuild. This doesn't look like a playoff team. This doesn't even look like a 500 team. You can't keep playing like this and think that you're going to be successful. Everybody else in the major leagues is using analytics now. There are other teams using the openers. There are other teams that are focusing on pitching and defense. There are other teams that are not just completely giving up on offense for defense. I'm sick of looking at guys in this Rays lineup for the last 3-4 years where it's like, he's batting 170. That's fine because he plays great defense. No, it's not. If a guy is not even getting a hit 2 out of 10 times, you are giving outs away on a daily basis. Every freaking day, the Rays just hand outs over to the other team. Here you go. Take this. Boom. There you go. Here's another out. You want an out? Joe Boo's here's 3 outs for you. You're going to take it again. You don't have to sacrifice all of your offense for good defense. The Rays have to do something. Going down this same path is not going to lead you to success. And I feel like there's a lot more people that are looking at this team and getting it. And it sucks because this is the worst possible time for this to happen. You're telling me that Rob Manfred is watching the Tampa Bay area and seeing if they're showing up? I'm telling you right now, if this team continues to play this way, that place is going to be empty in the summer. Empty. And nobody's going to freaking tell you that because they don't have the balls to, because they're worried about somebody sending them an email. Let's keep it positive. Let's focus on the field. This is the field. You're 9-13. 9-13. And they're like, let's bring Chandler Simpson up. Okay, that guy should have been here from the beginning. You have exciting players. You're so worried about clocks and making sure that we don't start the clock too early. You're trading guys before this time. All right, fine. But what has that gotten you the last 5 years? Jack shit. Nothing. You're getting progressively worse. Farther and farther away from being a team that is a World Series contender. Don't worry, the cavalry will be here. Okay, but how do we know that they're going to be good? How do we know that these guys are going to contribute to a winning ball club? Look at some of the statistics around the league of players that aren't playing well or teams that aren't playing well or maybe teams that are underachieving. Look at the statistics of the Rays. It's mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. Ben Rortvedt is 2 for 21. He's batting .095. Now, I don't expect Ben Rortvedt to be freaking Buster Posey. But at what point do we look at things like this and go, it has to be better? Well, maybe it doesn't. He batted .228 last year. Before that, for the Yankees, 118, 169. You're telling me it has to be that bad? Is he that great of a defender? I don't. We just sit there and we buy all this stuff from this team. Danny Jansen is the big guy. He did so great in spring training. He's 6 for 48. 6 for 48. This dude is batting .125. I don't understand. Yandy Diaz. Everybody's like, look at the last. And it drives me crazy that people look at this team and they always come up with in the last 4 games, in the last 5 games, you can make any single statistic make your team look good. At the end of the day, it comes down to one thing. How many runs you score. Do you score more than the other team? Yes or no? You get a win if you do. You get a loss if you don't. It's that simple. To be so overly analytical with this team and to try to reinvent the wheel and play guys when they shouldn't play and not play guys when they should play. Like, you're turning people away from supporting this team. And just look at the brass tacks, the clear as day numbers. Yandy Diaz is a center point of this team. He's batting .222. His on-base percentage is .268. We're not talking a week or 2 into the season. This is over 3 weeks into the season now. And Yandy is still batting like this. I just look, where would this team be? Don't even get me started with Taylor Walls batting up .167. You don't, and just go look at other teams. And I'm not talking about the Dodgers. I'm just looking at other teams and how they're able to balance their offense and their defense. They don't have to be so heavy on one side. Where would this team be without Cam Meisner and Jake Mangum? Think about that. 2 guys that you didn't even know they were going to be on the roster this year. And if it wasn't for them, this team would have 5 wins. 5, maybe. That is offensively. Pitching-wise, that's the other thing. You know I love my guy Ryan Pepio. He's 1-3 with a 4.82 ERA. I love Pep. He's a great guy. He's a freaking bulldog. It's not good enough, and he'll tell you that. And we're going to get him on the show, if not this week and next week, and we're going to talk about it. I know how hard he's working. But there were people that saying that Pep was going to be an all-star this year. He's 1-3 with a 4.82 ERA. It's not good enough. Taj is 2-1 with a 5.24 ERA. Littell's got an ERA of 5.48. I mean, guys, what are we doing? All of these different ERAs in the bullpen over 3. Over 3, if it's between 3 and 4 as a starter, not too terrible. But in the bullpen, you got to have guys under 3. All of these guys have an ERA over 3. Clevenger, Biggie, Montgomery, Fairbanks, Uceda, Kelly. Like, you can't win like this. Everybody is talking about their offense and, oh, they need to do this and they need to do that. We're built on pitching and defense. Your pitching ain't doing anything either. The Rays need to find it, and they need to find it quick. Because everybody, it's not, everybody wants to give you this whole sunshine and rainbows and butterflies, and they're not looking at, we spoke about this before the season. There's going to come a point where the Rays have to change the way they do things. Because the other teams, when it comes to the analytics, when it comes to developing, when it comes to really focusing on the farm system, other teams have caught up. You're not catching anybody by surprise. And if they don't change, we're going to continue to get this. Extrapolate the record that they have right now over 162 games. That place is going to be empty in July. They're 9-13. And now what? Does it get any easier? No. You got a day off today. You go to Arizona. They're 13-9. This is a team that was in the World Series 2 years ago. And you're going to face, Littell against Fott in the first game. Then you're going to have Taj Bradley against Eddie Rodriguez. And then you're going to have a really good matchup on Thursday at 9:40. Drew Rasmussen and Corbin Burns. I know Corbin Burns, the numbers aren't great to start. Drew's been fantastic. 1-1 with an 0.87 ERA. And then this weekend, you go to San Diego to take on the Padres. They're 16-6. It's not going to get any easier going up against Fernando Tatis, going against Xander Bogaerts. I'm over the excuses. I'm over the reasons why things aren't going well. You got to fix it. At what point is there an accountability factor? And I'm so sick and tired of this is what they do with what they have. I'm sorry, I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that. There's other teams out there that do more with, maybe they don't have less, but they're able to do more with just a little bit more. It's got to be better. Now, yesterday's game, Max Fried has a no-hitter. And there's a play where Chandler Simpson hits a ground ball to Paul Goldschmidt at first base. And he boots it. And as Max Fried is pitching, he's got a no-hitter. And Bill Matthews, who, if anybody out there knows Billy Matthews, he's one of the most respected baseball guys in the entire Bay Area. Former coach at Eckerd. He threw all 9 innings at the media game a couple of years ago. This guy is in his... I would say if I had to guess, he's in his 60s maybe. This is a guy that does charity work around the Bay Area. This is a guy that always has a smile on his face, always asks you how you're doing. And he makes the call initially that it's an error and not a base hit. Then a couple innings later, he changes it from an error to a hit, so Max Fried does not have a no-hitter. He ends up giving up a hit after that anyway. But people lose their freaking minds, including Michael Kay on the Yankees broadcast, which I thought was one of the most unprofessional and just shitty things a high-profile guy like that could do. You don't know Bill Matthews. The majority of you losers out there that want to talk shit about a guy on Easter Sunday for just doing his job and putting his picture up there and threatening him and saying all these terrible things. That says a whole hell of a lot more about you than it does Bill. You can disagree, but Twitter and social media becomes an absolute cesspool when things don't go your way. It's fucking terrible. And excuse my language, but it's just, I want you to realize how shitty that was. Put yourself in Bill's position. He's not a homer. He cares way more about the integrity of baseball and his credibility rather than doing anything to benefit the Rays. I know that for a fact. He made a call for what he saw, and I thought initially it was an error too, but after watching it back and checking the replay, he switched it. He's well within his right to do so. He is an official scorer in the major leagues, and he's done it for years. Now, he could have waited until after the game, but I know Bill, and Bill definitely made sure that he did that before the Yankees got to a point where they were going to keep Max Fried in the game longer than they should have this early in the season just to go after the no-hitter. He could have been a homer and just could have gave him a hit right off the bat, but no, he took his time. It's not your job as a official scorer to worry about historical reference or historical perspective or anything like that. It's not your job. Your job is to get it right. And it took some time, but he got it right. I would rather a guy take his time and be thorough, but also have a mindset of hey, he actually gave a crap about how the Yankees would be affected in this. He's the Rays guy. And for people to say the horrible things that they had to say about Bill Matthews on Twitter yesterday, shame on you. Shame on you. I hate that. You wouldn't have the balls to say that to his face. All these Twitter tough guys and these keyboard warriors, go back to your parents' basement, sit there, open up the jar of peanut butter, stick the spoon in there, and eat your dinner and shut your mouth. Losers. Speaking of winners.
Whoa.
He's a winner. Ian Beckles, what's up, bud?
Whoa, dog. You
Fired
good?
up.
You good? You fired up today, dog. What's wrong?
Fired up, dog. Yeah, man, bad call. People were getting on my guy Bill Matthews, the official scorer for the Rays. There was a no-hitter yet. I don't know if you saw it, but there was a no-hitter in like the 7th inning, and he went back and changed an error into a hit. It was a tough play. It was a ground ball to the first baseman, and you kind of had to see on the replay whether the guy was going to beat the pitcher to the bag, even if he fielded it. So he took some time. He took some time to get it right. An official scorer, you're not working with a team. You're working by yourself. Right. So he did that, and then he went back and changed it. But he also did it. He took his time, but he also did it in enough time where that the Yankees didn't keep the pitcher out longer because he had a no-hitter, right? Because we've seen that in the past where the guy will throw Johan Santana many years ago, 130, 140 pitches. He made sure that he got that information to the Yankees quickly so that he didn't hurt them. So all the things I'm seeing on social media, man, are just absolutely god-awful. Taking pictures of this guy, putting it on social media, wishing him ill on Easter and cussing him, and just, can you imagine if you had social media when you were a player? Can you imagine that?
Me, I mean, for myself, social media wasn't anywhere close. I don't know how it would have affected me as a person. I wasn't a high-profile guy, but I'm gonna tell you what, I'm on your side. Anybody would take time out of their busy day to kill somebody or just go after somebody who's doing their job. And to me, I'm pretty consistent. Even if he did make a mistake, okay, let's say he did make a mistake. Who got hurt? Right. If nobody gets hurt, please don't bother me, okay? Because in the grand scheme of things, who gives a shit? Right. Seriously, whose life is it gonna? You think it's gonna change anybody's lives? It's definitely not gonna change that peanut butter eating guy in his basement. It ain't gonna change his life. So get a life. I'm good. I'm with you, Jay.
I appreciate that, buddy. Another guy that you probably think should get a life is your guy Aaron Rodgers. He went on Pat McAfee last week, and he said he was upset that the Jets brought him in, halfway across the country to let him know they were going in a different direction. Mm-hmm. I feel like I could see, but I want to get your opinion on this. Taking away how we have talked about Aaron Rodgers and how you feel, if you were in that position, would you be upset that a team brought you in just to tell you that they were going to go in a different direction? Would you have rather they done that over the phone, or do you look at it as like a sign of respect they wanted to tell you to your face?
Well, respectfully to Aaron Rodgers, I'm not Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
If they did that, they're wrong for it. I don't know if they did that. That's,
No, they did. They did.
Okay, well then I understand why he's upset. I get that. Listen, Jay, I'm not an Aaron Rodgers guy. I never have been. It has nothing to do with the way he spins the ball. It has to do with the way he carries himself. But I do know this. I mean, I'm not really on the Jets side with this one, but for God's sakes, and you could tell me I'm wrong if you want. Is there been a week in an off season we didn't talk about Aaron Rodgers? No, I'm being serious.
Probably not.
If we don't speak about Aaron Rodgers in 1 week, he gonna do something. He gonna do ayahuasca or talk about somebody or say something stupid or go on McAfee. If you haven't had enough of Aaron Rodgers, I'm not sure who you are, because I've had enough, for God's sakes. You were good? Cool. We've been talking about you being good for the last 5 years, and you ain't been that damn good. That's me.
If you are the Steelers, how do you still want anything to do with this guy?
Well, you do, because Mason Rudolph's your quarterback.
Right. But that's what I'm saying, though. So that's the only reason why, is because there's no better option, right?
Well, Mike Tomlin at the end of it wants to have the best opportunity and best chance to win. And if I ask you if you want to bet your house on going any season with Mason Rudolph or Aaron Rodgers, even at 75 years old, I'll take Aaron Rodgers before Mason Rudolph. So that's where he is. He's in a conundrum where, you're screwed if you do and screwed if you don't. If Aaron Rodgers, are you going to be better? Probably. Will it suck in the locker room? Yep. It's just gonna. I mean, Aaron, it's about Aaron. And Aaron Rodgers couldn't be further from a Steeler player. A Steeler player used to mean something, Aaron Rodgers couldn't be further from a Mike Tomlin player. Maybe I'm wrong, but from the outside looking in, I don't see how they get along.
I don't know how they just let Russell Wilson and Justin Fields leave. If
Well,
that's the point, if you're not sure that you're going to go to a young quarterback, if you're not going to get one of these other guys, I mean, if you're not going to get a Jalen Milroe or Jackson Dart or one of these other guys, like, I don't know how you let Russell Wilson and Justin Fields both walk out that door and leave yourself with, I'm waiting on Aaron Rodgers' decision. That doesn't seem like a smart move.
none of it seems like a smart move. I don't think it's as much as letting Russell Wilson and Justin Fields go as it is to where you are right now. You can let them go, then bring somebody else in, for God's sakes.
Right.
Like, if you let somebody go, you have to have a contingency plan. And it doesn't seem like the Steelers had a plan at all. So they're sitting here right now, and I know Steeler fans, and Steeler fans are very rarely scratching their heads, and they're scratching their heads thinking, what the hell are we doing? That's not really Steelers football.
Maybe it is, though, now, right? I wonder how many times in sports do we fall into the habit of, and the reason why I bring this up is because you and I have talked about this. The Steelers aren't that we're going to smash mouth football run, you know what I mean? And I think maybe sometimes in sports, when the older you get, the more years that you have behind you, I think sometimes we may, I know I'm at fault with this. Sometimes we go into the habit of what we've known rather than what we've seen in the recent past. Like the Rays right now. Everybody's talking about the Rays, and they did this, and they've been as competitive as all these other teams. Ian, they've won one playoff game in 5 years, right? They're getting farther and farther away from that World Series appearance in 2020. Going from one postseason win to zero to not even making the playoffs. They're 9-13. They're getting farther and farther away, and everybody wants to talk about, well, the Rays are this or the Rays are that. Historically don't mean shit if in the last 5 years that's not them. I feel like the Steelers in a different way are different. I don't look at the Steelers the same way.
I agree with you, Jay, because like I said, the Steelers used to mean something. It still means something philosophically and, maybe behind closed doors, but on the field, it's not the same. On a normal Steelers football team, Russell Wilson's perfect. Mm-hmm. That's not a normal Steelers football. Right. A normal Steelers football team, gives up no more than 12 first downs a game. They run the ball for 120 yards. They don't have, fast guys on the outside. Everybody's kind of like rough, tough guy. They're not that team anymore. They got freaking, what's his name out there, the receiver who just can't stay out of freaking trouble.
George Pickens, yeah.
He's not a Steeler guy. Najee Harris, everybody, is he that great? So once again, what are they? They're not known for their offensive line. So you could still say Steeler football, but Steeler football is going away. As long as Mike Tomlin is there, it's going to be Steeler football to me, but it surely doesn't look the same.
The draft coming up this week, and now Adam Schefter is coming out and letting everybody know that the Buccaneers are one of those teams that are interested in trading down. I'm a huge fan of this for a team that has holes on the defensive side of the ball, Ian. I'd much rather a team trade down than trade up. Yeah, trade down than trade up and accumulate more picks, especially when you've had as much success as Jason Light has finding guys in the second, third, and fourth rounds. Without knowing the specifics, what do you think of the Buccaneers possibly trading down?
I don't think I've ever wanted my team to trade up.
Yeah.
I don't. That means you're losing picks.
Right.
And at the end of it, whoever you traded up to get, also look and see who you missed on. Okay, right. So you missed on that pick and another pick, and see if those two guys aren't better than that one pick. It's very rare that one guy is going to be better than two guys. Okay, so that's as real as I can be. You want more. Okay, that one guy is rarely that guy. There's people that teams of we're going to go up to get this guy who sucks, who ends up not even being part of their system. So I always want more picks. Jason, usually when you hear inside information from all these people, it's a lot of rubbish and hooey. If you want to trade down, that's an easy thing to tell people. You know what I mean? Like Jason Light, if he puts it out to Adam Schefter, they want to trade down, and somebody says, well, who can we? Well, I heard the Bucks. I think Schefter puts it out there, but I think the GMs really know I think the GMs, can I be honest with you, are all in cahoots, and they all call each other all the time. Those guys don't hate each other. Those guys are all on the same team, and if you want to trade down and I want to go up, we don't fight for it. Let's talk about it and let's get it done.
Florida Gators prospect Desmond Watson could be getting drafted. 464 pounds, Ian.
Yep.
How much of a factor do you think he'll be in the NFL?
I can't answer that, Jay, because no, that's you know me, I'm real.
Yeah.
I can't answer that because I don't think I even really saw him playing. I seen a couple of highlights of the kid. I don't think I ever really saw him play a real game in college. I'm gonna say this though: if he's not a high pick, and I don't think he's a high pick,
No.
I'll take a chance.
Yeah.
I'll take a chance later, and if he's still there in the 5th round, maybe. What about that big fat son bitch in Florida?
Yeah.
Let's see what he can do. If you're 400 and some pounds, and you can move a little bit, and you got a little mean in you, we'll figure something out. Listen, I wish it was that easy in high school. It's not. I have some big kids, and you figure that if they play a little bit, they'd be all right. And at Chamberlain, that's not the case. But when you're talking about University of Florida, he went there for a reason because he was a great athlete, obviously, and he is a great athlete. But where he's going to play, if it's not defensive tackle, it ain't going to be nowhere else. So you got to figure that out.
How would you deploy him then if you're a defensive line coach? As far as like what kind of scheme would fit him the best? How many downs would he play? When you look at Desmond Watson and you say, ideally, if he can contribute to my team, is it a D tackle in a 4-3, a 3-4, playing one snap, 1 down, 2 downs? What do you think?
I don't think I can do that. I think I can say he could be a Vince Wilfork. That's about all I can say. He's going to be a plugger. So, he's not going to rush the passer. That ain't going to happen. And I didn't even want to compare him to Vita Vea because Vita Vea is not your average big fat guy.
He's not.
He's just not, okay? Vince Wilfork, Ted Washington back in the day, Gilbert Brown guys are just pluggers that you can't move. If you're running a defense, and I could tell you, this guy is not going to be moved, it's a good place to start.
Right.
Because not a lot of defenses could do that. If you have a guy just going to take up 2 blockers and sit there, that's a good start of a defense. But he has to be that guy. I'm not quite sure he's that guy.
If you were a team drafting in the top 10, would you draft Ashton Genty from Boise State? If you were a team drafting in the 1st round, would you draft him or Omarion Hampton, the running back out of North Carolina? Just regardless of what they are, regardless of their skill set, knowing how you put a lot of onus on offensive line over running back, is there any scenario that you would put, would you say it's okay to draft a running back in the 1st round?
Yes, end of it. I mean, if you're a top 10 pick, that means you ain't good. And I'm going to tell you what's not going to make it better is a running back, okay? Your lines aren't good. Your quarterback's probably not good. And you can put a running back in the midst of that, and it's never going to look good, okay? And it's going to be 3-4 years before you become good, and that's usually the end of a running back's life.
Right.
So at the end of the 1st round, pick him. You ain't bad. I mean, you won 10, 11 games. Now you can put Genty out there, and I'm going to say this. I don't like running backs, but I like him. Yeah. I don't like many, but I like him. Will he be healthy? I don't know. But do I like him? Yep. He's different. Like, his highlights are different. I just don't know if he's going to stay healthy.
If you are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I know you kind of talked about this with Pat and Aaron last week, and we're seeing it again. I saw Adam Schefter say something about it of Rachaad White possibly being on the trade block. And I know that there are people like, let's see what you can get, this and that. I don't see the point in getting rid of a guy that you know what you have in him. This isn't a Ronald Jones. This isn't a guy that puts the ball on the ground. This isn't a guy that can't catch out of the backfield. This isn't a guy that has trouble with pass protection. Like, the reason why he lost his starting job as the year went on is because Bucky played outstanding. I mean, he's just a really good player. And does it mean that Rachaad isn't as good as him? Maybe, probably. But I don't think that you should ever try to get rid of good players and guys that can contribute to your team. And it's different in football with trades, man. It's not like baseball and hockey and basketball where you're getting fair value. It's usually a lower draft pick. You're usually not getting that talent back. It's not like baseball where you can trade a guy and then you get a pitcher and then in 3 years he turns into David Price, right? Or a hockey guy where you're like, maybe that draft pick turns into Nikita Kucherov. Like, it's not the same in football. What do you say to those people that are fervent in their belief that the Buccaneers should trade Rachaad White?
Well, I don't know where this started, But if somebody wants to trade Rashad White, I would first of all ask why.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If you trade somebody, it should be one of two things. They're not efficient and they're not effective as a football player, and they're wrong there. Or he makes too much money. And they're wrong there. So
Right.
if you could get a first rounder for him, go get it. You ain't getting it. You ain't getting it. So what are you gonna get for the third rounder,
Right.
a fourth rounder, to bring in a guy you don't know who can play, who's probably gonna make as much money as Rashad anyways? It doesn't make much sense. And I think we're putting too much weight on Bucky right off rip. We don't know if Bucky could even play. We don't even know if Bucky can start 10 games this year. Okay, so if Bucky in the middle of the season is holding his hamstring, don't remember I said I told you so, because he only really toted the pill one time last year and he couldn't finish the game. So running backs with durability really don't really exist anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I look at a guy like Rashad White too, and people always, oh, trade this guy because we're going to get a second round pick. And that's not the way it goes. That's
No.
not the way it goes. People think that, all right, you trade your bad players. I'm not saying he's bad, but people will say, like, oh, trade this player, and it's like he's not good. Or trade this player because he underperformed. Or trade this player because somebody else did better than him. Well, why the hell would somebody else want to trade for him then? Right? People are like, oh, yeah, let me take that problem off your hands and let's give you something that we can use to really make our team better. Like, that type of stuff doesn't happen in professional sports.
Well, I mean, I'm not the only one to say buyer beware with running backs. That's everybody. Every GM, pretty much, they're not going very high. So why would somebody give us a high draft pick for one of our guys that we beat up?
Right.
Why wouldn't you go back in the draft and go get a young guy that you can groom by yourself? Now, Rashad is a solid football player. I like him. I don't know why anybody doesn't want him to be a Buccaneer. I think he's a solid football player. Never heard the coaches complain about one damn thing. He's out there every single week. I've never seen him leave the field because of injury. I don't remember him leaving because of injury. So he's a tough kid. I like him. I think it's a good place to start. Bucky, I'm not sold yet. Is he talented as hell? Hell yeah. I don't know if Bucky can pick blitzes up all day long. I don't know that. We'll see.
And today over at One Buck Place, Yaya Diaby and Kalijah Kancey both spoke to the media, Devin Culp as well. Which one of those guys do you think needs to have a better season in 2025? And which one of those guys will have a better season in 2025? Yaya Diaby or Kalijah Kancey?
They both have to be better. Both of them. Mm-hmm. Yaya Diaby, I think he was better his first year than he was his second year. You don't want to see people regress. And sometimes it's not regressing. Sometimes it's just the way things unfold. I just didn't see him in the backfield as much last year. Kalijah Kancey, I think he's developing at the speed he's supposed to. Okay? Defensive tackles, I watched Warren Sapp come in. I watched a lot of other guys come in. Your first year, you ain't about nothing. Kalijah was better than Warren in his first year. I mean, he was. He wasn't better than him in the second year. So Warren kept on, getting 30, 40% better every single year. I don't know if I saw that jump in Kalijah Kancey. Kalijah Kancey, I see he's a splash player. I need him to be a more consistent football player. Because you know me, Jay, it ain't about the plays you make. It's about the plays you don't make as a defensive tackle. Gerald McCoy drove me nuts for the plays he didn't make. Okay, you're going to make a couple plays if you're picking sides. It ain't about picking sides. It's about being solid. Kalijah's not there yet, although if he's the second, third guy on the defensive line that is the threat, that's a pretty darn good defensive line. We have Vita. We need one other person to step up, and I think Kalijah's game will step up as well.
I look at Yaya Diaby. I feel like he is that dude where he is going to I think he has a better chance of affecting the defense in a bigger way than Kalijah Kancey, because if he can rush the passer, if he can get, I hate saying this every year with Buccaneers pass runners, if he can get 10 sacks, it's like you shouldn't have to think about that, right? You should be like, yeah, he's probably going to get 10. Maybe he'll get 15, right? That should be the base level if you're an elite pass rusher, if you consider yourself an elite pass rusher. Now you got Hassan Reddick, who can do that in his sleep, and maybe you draft another guy. I mean, what's your confidence level that Yaya can get 10 sacks this year?
Not real high. Once again, I don't dislike the way Yaya plays. He's just not he's not that guy that looks like a 10-sack guy. Yaya, to me, maybe that guy, and this is from what I've heard. He's been that guy in the locker room. He's that tough guy, that physical guy. I don't know if he's a splash. He's that big play guy though. He almost a Will Golston type of, big, burly, mean. Everybody be mean like me. You need a guy like that, but that's not always the guy to get the 2 sacks, the double-digit sacks. Yaya will skip the splashes as well, but not consistently. I don't see, and Reddick, I don't know him that well. I don't see a lot of double-digit sacks happening around here anytime soon. I just don't. A lot of that has to do with if they can stop the run too. If the people are running the ball down your throat, you ain't getting. Not everybody getting 10 sacks. So you got to stop the run like back in the day, and then make big plays like back in the day.
Do you think the Buccaneers should draft if a good pass rusher is there at number 19 in the first round? Would you draft him?
At the top of my head, it would seem to be the biggest void. Once again, it's just so hard, Jay, to just do that. It's so hard to say if there's a good rusher at them. It's who is it? How good was he? How was he rated? Who else is there? What other position do we need? What position? There may be a guy it could be the third rated rusher, okay? And we get down to that pick, and there may be the number 1 rated corner right there still. Yeah. Now, what you might have a pick 15 picks later. And that 15 picks later may be a guy very similar to that pass rusher, but this DB won't be there. So just saying I would pick this guy, I don't think anybody goes into the draft thinking that. I'm going to give you, for instance, the Buccaneers picked Trent Dilfer that year in the draft. I don't think they went in thinking they were going to pick Trent Dilfer, but he just was there. Whether it was a good pick or not, we don't want to get into that. Probably wasn't a great pick. But Trent Dilfer was there, and I heard through the grapevine, and it's a pretty good grapevine, nobody ever worked him out. Nobody had ever worked out Trent Dilfer from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they picked him. I heard that, and whether that's a true story, I'm not sure.
Classic Bucks. What you got going over there at the Dignitary Cafe, buddy? You guys celebrate 420 last night?
Bro, we celebrate 420 every day, all day.
Stupid question.
That's real. We had a big 420 party here on Friday. We had about a couple hundred people here.
Really?
Oh, yeah, it was amazing. I mean, the place was
acting
packed
a fool.
Yeah, people were acting a fool, having a good time. Saw some old ladies from the old lady place over here where I live, hanging out with peoples out here, smoking that good. That's what we do at the Dignitary Cafe. But now we hanging loose, man. It's a good place to hang out during the day. You can go to Starbucks with all the stiff people, or hang out at Dignitary Cafe. And if you're not in the Carver and Cradle, we got coffee and soft drinks and just a good vibe, and we chill.
Yeah, 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard. Go check them out right on the corner of Gandy and West Shore. We also record the Beckles and Recher podcast every Wednesday at 3 o'clock. How are things going within the trenches? When are we bringing that back?
Great question. Soon. We did a couple episodes and way back when with a couple of my former teammates, and
put them in the can.
Microphone issues. It never really came out. Yeah. So we might redo those soon, but it's time for it to get back. Football season's right around the corner, my brother.
You got that right. Ian.
Go Lightning, by the way.
Check them out. Go Bolts, baby. Back in action tomorrow night. Game 1. Bolts and Panthers, 8:30 puck drop at Amalie Arena. Beck, appreciate you, brother. See you on Wednesday.
One love.
See me rolling. Ian Beckles, man. Go check him out. 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard, then Dignitary Cafe. Go check him out. Tell him that Jay Recher sent you. Follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe as well. Coach Ken Eriksen, USF Softball, will join us in about 5 minutes or so. Shout out to the U.S. women's team that won, U.S. women's hockey team, to see what they beat Team Canada in overtime, which was great. They're in Czechia, so yeah, good stuff there. Also for morning skate today, J.J. Moser in the middle of the stretch circle because he's going to be playing in his first postseason game tomorrow night, as well as Zemgus Girgensons. And gotten a real... I've been very lucky to be able to hang out with J.J. Moser. He is such a great guy and big Manchester United fan. This is a guy that has really transformed the defense there. And for all the people out there that are kind of missing some of the storylines when it comes to this series. Everybody's talking about the Panthers and Kachuk, and you heard it with Greg Wyshynski when he was on with us a couple of weeks ago. Like, not enough people are talking about the changes for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Not enough people are talking about Jake Gensel, 40 goals in his first season, 40 plus goals in his first season with the Bolts. I mean, this is a playoff performer. This is a guy that is not going to be looking at the stage and thinking that it's too big for him. You went out and got a Yanni Gourde, who is a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. You fortified your defense by bringing Ryan McDonough back, by trading for J.J. Moser. And then you have Andrei Vasilevsky, who is finally 100% healthy after missing the first 20 games last year with that back injury. So I know Ed Encina from the Tampa Bay Times, and again, support local. Go sign up today for the Tampa Bay Times. I know he's got a story out right now about Andrei Vasilevsky and his health. That is not something that should be taken lightly. And I find it very interesting to see how people are looking at this series. And certain people are just kind of giving the Panthers the benefit of the doubt. And it doesn't surprise me because they are the defending Stanley Cup champions. They have been to 2 Cup finals in a row. I got no issue with that. If you're picking the Panthers to beat the Lightning, while I don't agree with you, I can see where you're coming from. I don't think you're stupid. I don't think you're an idiot. I think it's a valid take. If you see what you see and you think that they are going to win, hey, more power to you. I don't think that's crazy. I think it's a fair point to make. But if you're going to say that either one of these teams don't have a chance, I don't really trust your analysis then. Because this is also a rivalry, so sometimes you can kind of just throw the records out, and sometimes it takes a life of its own. So let's not forget that as well. Looking at what we saw over the weekend, Saturday night, St. Louis, Winnipeg, the Jets win that game 5-3. Connor Hellebuyck looks sketchy to start that game, and this is a big postseason for him. Probably going to be a back-to-back Vezina winner, but he has not come up big in the playoffs, and outside of that one trip to the conference finals years ago, he's got to be better. Kyle Connor stepped up, their best forward. That's what they're going to need to beat St. Louis. I still have the Blues in that series because I think Jordan Binnington knows exactly what it takes to win. And then Colorado-Dallas, the second game Saturday night. If I'm Dallas and I don't have Jason Robertson, I don't know how I win this series. I don't even know if they would have won this series if he was healthy. I think Colorado's a better team. They went out and got Brock Nelson at the deadline. You get Charlie Coyle at the deadline. You have McKinnon and McCarr. They're just a really, really good team. I feel like they're on a collision course with Vegas in the conference. Well, I don't know if they can play because they're in the same. Yeah, that sucks. Well, that's the way it goes. New Jersey and Carolina. Hurricanes win that one 4-1. No surprise there. Jersey's given it all they had. I know Brendan Dillon left with an injury yesterday. They don't have Jack Hughes. I don't know if they have enough firepower. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a sweep or a 5-gamer. Also yesterday, Ottawa and Toronto. Ottawa looked outmatched. Dave Michigan and I, we spoke about it. We thought that it was going to be maybe closer than some people thought. I wasn't too convinced last night. Toronto looked like they were firing. Ottawa just doesn't look like they have enough star power. And then Minnesota and Vegas, tough game there. Howden gets the late empty netter to make it 4-2. That's a tough series. I think Minnesota is going to give Vegas all they can handle, but I have the Golden Knights in that one. Montreal and Washington tonight, game 1, 7 o'clock. St. Louis and Winnipeg, 7:30. That's game 2 there. Colorado-Dallas, game 2 at 9:30. And then game 1 of Edmonton and L.A. at 10 o'clock tonight. All those games on the ESPN family of networks are Tampa Bay Lightning. They get started tomorrow night at 8:30. Some NBA action as well. The Lakers, they got smacked on Saturday by Minnesota. That game wasn't even close. Milwaukee, Indiana, tough without Damian Lillard there to think that the Bucks have a chance against Indiana. They're deep. Really thrilling game between Denver and the Clippers. The Nuggets come back to win that one 112-110. The Knicks go on a 21-0 run in the fourth quarter to beat the Pistons, 123-112. And then yesterday, Memphis, with probably one of the worst performances we've seen in playoff history, losing 131-80. Lost by 51. Orlando gave Boston all they could handle, but Jason Tatum didn't even have his best game. Neither did Jaylen Brown. And Derek White leads the way with 30 points, and Orlando still lost. Cleveland routs Miami 121-100, and then the Warriors 95, Rockets 85. I think the experience might just prove to be a little bit too much. All right, let's bring him in. The one and only, the leading man for our USF softball team, Ken Eriksen. Coach, what's going on, buddy? How are you?
All I know is Jalen Brunson and Carl Anthony Towns are the guys right now, right? I'm bringing me back to the Walt Frazier, DeBusschere, Bill Bradley, Willis Reed days right there. I'm excited to see how far the Knicks can go. So we'll see. We'll see.
My uncle would always tell me about how important that team was during that time because there was so, with everything that was going on in the country at that time. I mean, the Knicks brought everybody together because you look at that roster with the backcourt of Frazier and Monroe, and then you have, Bill Bradley goes on to be the freaking senator in New York with DeBusschere, and then, you have Willis Reed leading the way, and then you have Phil Jackson and the Zen Master. I mean, that team with Red at the helm, I mean, that really was kind of a way to, kind of like bringing the team together.
It really was. You think about what Holtzman did as a coach and to bring in all those guys, but the aspect of it is not one guy was really a superstar coming out of college, right? And then they all had Willis Reed as the foundation behind what was going on, and you had some pretty bright guys. And Bradley went to Princeton, and DeBusschere was, I don't know if people realize that DeBusschere pitched with the White Sox.
Yeah.
Also, right? So you had some really good athletes there. But during that time, in the late 60s, when you had all the things that were going on in the world, not dissimilar to what's happening now, right? But back in that area, you had the Mets won the 69 World Series. The Jets went to the Super Bowl, and that's my we're trying, right? That team drives me crazy, but we're trying. And then the Knicks had a phenomenal run. So it was a really good time to be a New York sports fan growing up in that area during that time.
No doubt. Everybody always remembers Willis Reed and those two shots he hits. I remember 36 and 19 in that game because I wore number 10 growing up because Walt Frazier is my dad's favorite player, so that was my guy. Right. As a coach, who influenced you coming up through the ranks, Ken? When you were looking to kind of morph and kind of create your own coaching style, was there anybody that you look back on and said, I want to take piece from this guy, piece from that guy?
Yeah, it was interesting. I had a chance to meet Bobby Valentine when I was in high school. And I thought he did a tremendous job of communicating with the players. He was right on the level. He respected everybody of what was going on. And then you had an aggressive coach in Earl Weaver, when he was with the Orioles, and he played for the 3-run home run, but he had great pitching and great defense. And then you also had guys like Gil Hodges, who was a very, very steady influence on his team to keep them a young team back in the 67, 68, 69 season with that team. And he was a real steady type of guy, never got excited, this and that. And so my wife continues to say, like, I can't tell if you're up 10 or down the way your demeanor is on the field. And then to play for Robin Roberts, who was a professional. And always said that, boys, if you want to be treated like a professional, act like a professional. And that always resonated with me. So to be that type of person and to be that type of mentor has always, I hope I attain that at some point. These guys are really, really good.
Yeah, you can definitely tell, man. You're just never get too high, never get too low, staying even keel. You mentioned those great Baltimore Orioles teams and those 420 game winners that they have. You got yourself a pretty good staff right now with the Bulls. What has worked so well for those ladies in the circle this season?
Well, they're understanding that pitching is like real estate, location, right? And not try to do too much and not try to overthrow the ball, because the way these hitters are nowadays, you're not going to throw the fastball by anybody, right? And so you have to make sure that you're hitting your spots and buy into changing speeds and keeping the hitters off balance. So Belle Sarge's doing a great job of that. Peyton Dixon's done a great job for that for 3 years for us. And now we're having, a young lady by the name of Ann Long as a freshman who's got a really good down ball. So we're ham and egging it together pretty much so far.
I loved Ann's game against Michigan early on in the season. It was a 1-0 loss, but I saw – I mean, how great is that, Ken? Because you and I spoke about this the other day. People forget, like, these are 18 to 22 to 23, 24-year-olds. Everybody expect them to come up with, all these crazy things, and they forget about that. They're still kids. And to see Ann, it was almost like you saw a kid grow in the middle of just 7 innings of a game. When you see a player like that flourish throughout the season, what does that mean to you? Does it give you kind of an idea of like, hey, we're on the right track with this player?
Yeah, and you're hoping that they realize that the coaching staff has confidence in them to put them in those situations to succeed, right? Because so many great players I shouldn't say great, but so many players go to college and they get shelved, for fear factors like this kid can't do it and this and that. But to me, if we're recruiting these players to play against the schedule that we play, put them out there. You got to develop them at some point. And And to wait as long as people do to develop players, to me, is ridiculous. You know, you got to get them out there in a fire right away. And I think that lends itself to creating a lot of team chemistry later on down the road, that no matter if you're a senior, junior, sophomore, or freshman, you can answer the bell. But, you know, I was very, very proud of what she's done. You know, she put a great game against Louisville, you know, great game against some other pretty top teams. She's come in relief a few times, shut down Charlotte completely, and shut down FAU when she came in. So, you know, we're really happy with her, and the future looks pretty bright, you know, for Ann.
I love what you said about getting players involved, because, you know, for me, when I coached years ago, 8 years, and I always told people and parents, because, you know, parents, they always, you know, they have their own vision on how the game should go. But I said, if you're on a team, your coach should always try to find a way. I never understood when people rock the same 9 or 10. There's always a way to get somebody a defensive inning. There's always a way to somebody to get an AB somewhere, right? There's always a way. And I've always admired that you'll go to that bench, you'll go pinch runner, courtesy, pinch runner, pinch runner. Like, how important is that to have at least, you know, some of your young players? Hey, you're not going to play maybe a ton in the field, but get ready for your pinch running appearances. How much of that and how they handle that, even it may seem small and trivial to some people on the outside, but am I wrong in saying that if they can do that well, you give them a little more, you give them a little more, and you give them an opportunity?
Well, I think so. You know, of all the coaches that we talked about already, you know, I mean, how many guys are coming off the bench for Holtzman? How many guys are coming off the bench for Earl Weaver? How many guys are coming off the bench for Hodges, right? There was about 14 or 15 core players in those groupings. It wasn't just your 9. And when they felt like they were important, they were able to produce, you know? And so to us, we kind of, I've always said this, right? And people that have watched us play, you know, they take a look at the scorecard and go like, man, that guy runs them in and out. I'm like, right, exactly. You know, and so if you keep that involved, it's great. I mean, remember Holly Rowe taking a look at our score sheet one time, and she was like, man, look at all these markouts here. I go, hey, I get it. So, but you got to keep them involved.
I love that. And what is it about, and maybe you see it in basketball, but I think softball is probably the number one like indicator of this. There was an example a couple of weeks ago where you took Kathy out and you put in Josie, and Josie comes up and hits a home run. Kathy was on the top step the entire time. She was the first person to greet her after she went big fly. There was no like, I'm upset, feeling bad for myself, go throw my equipment down, go sit at the end of the bench. Like, I don't know, what is it about the women's athletics? I've heard Gino Oriema talk about this too, and about your attitude on the bench. And why is that so much more of a Why is there so much more of an emphasis for the women's sports in college rather than the men's? Because you don't see you would hope that it would be the same, Ken, but it's not. What is it about the females that's the way college athletics is for them?
I got my first taste of that in my first year of coaching women's athletics. So I just came from baseball, and there was a guy on a team that was really screwing up, and I asked the coach if I could get into him a little bit with some language in front of everybody, and I did. I mean, I threw around some F-bombs and flowery language, told him how he was screwing up, going out, and I respected the team and this and that. And we went to BP that day, and he's in the outfield, but nobody's around him because in the guys' game, you get chewed by you're poisoned, right? So now next year, I come over to USF, and we had a kid that played center field that was really good, but her priorities weren't in a great spot, right? I asked Coach Deese if I could get into her a little bit, and I did. I didn't use as many F-bombs and not as much flowery language, but the message was the same. Well, I turned around and walked away and then looked back over my shoulder, and all the girls were around her going, hey, we love you. He's a jerk, right? So I'm not sure what the innate aspects of it is, but I will tell you that that locker room for us has always been very, very tight, and you have to understand that women have to play good to feel good, and men have to feel good to play good, or play good to feel good. So it's like if my wife wakes up crappy in the morning, you go and be crappy all day unless I change that attitude. Me, I can wake up crappy in the morning, go out and win a few games. I come home, I'm feeling good, right? So, it's a different mentality, but it's more about people. And I'll tell you that if you recruit people that respect each other, and I think we've done a pretty good job of that, then you have a chance to be successful. Because if you don't win in the locker room and you don't win in the dugout, you ain't winning on the ball field.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I want to ask you about one of your former players because I think she's been, in my mind, the best USF athlete, at least I've seen in the last decade, and that's Georgina Korick. What was it like could. I mean, can you throw out there to hit sometimes? She'd hit a home run when the game won nothing. I go, this girl's from another planet. What was it like to coach her? And it just seemed like as well as she played, the enjoyment that other people had for her success spoke volumes of her character. And it's so great to see her on the TV broadcast with Ryan Urquhart as well. What was it about? She seemed like a really, really special athlete.
She was, and she was humble. She was the one that was going out and getting the bats, between innings while she was pitching. I mean, she had no airs about her, but she had a capacity. And the capacity was not just anticipatory of what was going to happen next, right? But she had a capacity to understand the game right from the get-go. Well-read person, very observant type of person, but it's one of those rare breeds that you can translate the intelligence to the athletic ability. And so for her, every game was a challenge. Every batter she faced was a challenge. Every pitcher she faced was a challenge, and she wanted to accomplish it. But she never got too high and never got too low. And she was an epitome of a player, which we try to teach our players, like, what's the worst thing that could happen to you after a ball game today? Your parents are still going to love you. You're still going to have friends. You're still going to be waking up tomorrow with the sun. And so if she had so much little girl in her also, beside the maturity part of the game, that she enjoyed it. Okay. And she was just all in. She was like coaching a national team player, like the players I coached with Team USA. I mean, she reminded me a lot of that. You only had to tell her once, like the college players, sometimes you have to go 2 or 3 times, but the pro guys, only one time. And then they got it, or they try it, and they wouldn't be feeling bad about not, succeeding right away. They would go and go and go.
What about somebody like Josie Foreman, who, she's in her prime. And then Josie was so young. And I remember somebody coming up to me like, that's a tall task for this young girl to be able to be back there and to catch one of the best pitchers in the country. Yeah. And man, I just thought she handled it with just the utmost class, and she just didn't look overwhelmed. And I know she had some issues and, with injuries and stuff like that, but to see how well she's performed this year, like to see that growth from somebody that was tasked with so much early on, to see her taking such a leadership role this year. What is that like, Ken, to see that development for somebody in particular like that?
Well, Josie is a service-oriented type of person to begin with. And so as a catcher, as a receiver, you got to give in pretty much to, like, I'm a suggester of what we're throwing. But George was such a good teacher also, and like, hey, this is my good stuff. This is what I want to do in this situation. And they worked together so well in the bullpen that they were like on the same page the whole time. And that's a rarity right nowadays because of all the people that are using all the signal sets and whatever the deal is. They're just cookie cutters. But those two were like, for the lack of a better terminology, they were a pair. I mean, that was it right there. They knew you didn't have to worry about them. Josie, you go call the ball game. You enjoy call the ball game, right? That's how trustful you were because their intelligence was so good together. And then Josie, she's had some issues, obviously, with some injuries that could have been really devastating, but comes back this year, put her nose to the grindstone and cut out all the noise, and now she's just focused on what I am to be Josie and not worry about what other people expect of me. And that's a big deal. When you can get to that maturity level of cutting out the noise and not worried about what's going on the internet, not what's going on in social media and all those type of things, you can focus on the game. And I think her and Alana Rivera have done a phenomenal job together.
Is that the biggest change you've seen in athletes, let's say the last 10 years? It's just the noise, the social media. And does that affect how you recruit players? Like, how do you take that extra step to go, see how a high school senior is, doing what she does online? Like, does that come into it nowadays?
Oh my gosh, it has to. They're actually putting out the forensics on who they are.
You don't got to dig deep, man. It's everywhere.
No, I can tell you right now, and there's been a couple players that were really big time players that wanted to transfer in the transfer portal and called us and were like, nope, you're not going to fit here. It's just not going to happen, because you can't sacrifice 24 for 1. There's no way, and it's not going to happen. So we have, certain mantras that we go by. And I only have one rule on my team, Jay. It's called the don't be stupid rule, right? I mean, if you think that I'm thinking it's going to be stupid, you don't do it. If you think mom and dad are going to think it's stupid, you don't do it, right? And so, we can't see people going out there and embarrassing the team and embarrassing the organization and so forth. There's been a lot of people here, alumni, coaches that have been here a while that have a respect for the game, respect for the university, and we don't want to tarnish any of that. So it's a big deal when it comes together in that recruiting.
Does that take time, Ken, to be able to have that mindset? Because I feel like if you're a young coach going into it and you got to win a little bit, right? So you don't want to sacrifice that. But, if you're a little bit more established, if you've been around, is that easier over time to say, hey, you may be a conference player of the year, you may be a conference pitcher of the year, but that fly will screw up our entire ointment over here. Over time, do you get the benefit of the doubt of being able to make those calls?
I think so. And early on, I was fortunate enough to have support of our administration. We had to throw 2 kids off the team, 2 pitchers off the team. We were down to 1 pitcher. Early on in my career, it was only losing season, I believe, because they weren't with it. And you're just not going to do that. It's just, I can't, you don't respect the game. You don't respect the people around you. There's no sense in you being around because you'll bring it down. And as soon as we got rid of those guys, the next year we were back in the NCAA tournament right away because when you have all the girls coming into the office, you go, thank you for doing that because, that's the deal right now. That's why we came here. And so sometimes you have to do that. Sometimes you only have to shoot 1 soldier, right? And everybody else falls in line. And so we've been very, very fortunate over the last, 20, 25 years that the program's gone in a great direction.
36-12-1 this season, 15-5-1 in the conference. That one drives me crazy because I watched that whole freaking game at Wichita. And I feel like out of all the games this year, that one game right there is the tie, but that was the microcosm of your season. Mm-hmm. You were down, and you just did not give in. You end up scoring in extras, and just because you had to get the heck out of here, the score reverts to the previous inning. Yeah. What would you say is the identity of your team this year, if you could put a word to it or two?
Relentless, just relentless, and they've bought into the fact that we have the most fair game. Baseball and softball have the most fair game that's on the planet because you can't hold the ball. You can't run it into the line 5 times to do the clock. They get 21 outs. Baseball get 27. We get 21. Baseball get 27, right? So everybody's got an equal shot, and so it doesn't matter. And that game, you're getting goosebumps right now. I mean, we were down 7-2. And I'm looking at the clock, and we got a half an hour before the dead call time, right? And there's 2 out. And I'm going, well, we're definitely going to the airport. And then all of a sudden, a hit, home run, a hit, a walk, another home run. And I'm looking at the clock going, we got to get this done right now. Because if not, we're going back to the next inning and we lose, right?
Yeah.
So we steal a kid, and she was, I don't know, review got her out, but I thought she was safe. But anyway, we got to get the next 3 outs. And so we're rushing to get the 3 outs, and we do. So now we got 7 minutes to go, right? And I'm like, all right, first person up, get a home run. Well, geez, we just single. We scored 3-4 runs, and the clock's running out, and my players are saying, should I get off the base? I go, no, don't disrespect the game. It is what it is. We actually stole a tie, at that, which in the long run, I think is going to help us, because you didn't have an L. But just to score 5 and on the road with 2 outs. I mean, against a team that's battling right now, Wichita State, they're pretty good. So our kids got on the airplane that night. It was like we won the World Series. It was phenomenal.
You got a big game coming up against Florida, man. We saw them once before this season, and we know how they can swing it, man. They have some really good players on their team. What's the mindset going into this game against the Gators, knowing what it's going to take to be able to compete against them? And then also, looking at how do you take that one game and, regardless of what the outcome is, kind of reset and get back and get ready to play North Texas this weekend?
Yeah, it's a short week actually. With Easter yesterday, and we head up to Gainesville Wednesday night, turn around, come back home, and the next morning we're catching a flight to Dallas. So, but we've challenged them all year long. We're going to be able to compete with anybody. This as well as I do. Sometimes you play great and scoreboard lies, and you don't get one. Sometimes you play crappy. We had 3 crappy games the last 10 games, and we won all of them. So who knows what's going to happen? All I can tell you is this, is that the mantra of our team is always what's next. And that means, we got the first time practice today in a couple of days. We'll worry about tomorrow. Wednesday night, that's a formidable challenge. There's no question about it. Really, really good team. But that's what you aspire to. And at the same time, it's challenging you that if you get to the postseason, you've already seen it. So the challenges that we have with our schedule is a really good schedule. It's to prepare us to get to the World Series, not just to win a conference tournament, right? So we want to see the best pitching, and that's why we do what we do.
What have you seen as far as the growth USF athletics as a whole, Ken? Because I know you can get into your groove, practice. I remember those baseball schedules, softball schedules, man. You just get in the groove and head down, practice, game, day off, BP, boom, boom, boom. You could be in your own little world there on the softball side of the complex there. But looking what Michael Kelly's been able to do, Coach Hannes, Coach Jose Fernandez, and it just seems like the tide is rising with the green and gold with USF athletics. As somebody that's been there, what do you see?
From walking across from Zeta Hall to Beta Hall through the sand spurs to get to our old baseball field, the batting cage had ruts and divots in it, the whole deal. So where we are right now compared to 25, 30 years ago is incredible. Where we are right now compared to 10, 15 years ago is incredible. And then now you've got the indoor facility, for football. You got a stadium going up. The lights are on every day here. Everybody's in positive mode of what's happening. The community has gotten behind the university like never before. So it's a really exciting time. And how many times in the years in the past, Jay, have you heard, they're in a takeoff stage, and that's been the longest takeoff stage I've ever reading about. And to me, we're not actually in a takeoff stage. We're a pretty damn good program. Yeah. And you've got other conferences really sniffing around right now to see, hey, great academic institution, great area to go play and maybe live, right?
Right.
And an athletic program that is banging on the door. And so, Golish, incredible job of getting us back into the national spotlight of what's happening. Amir did a phenomenal job while he was here with basketball. What a great guy that guy was. And now you've got the excitement of people, like when jobs open up here, that line is out the door. Who wouldn't want to come to the University of South Florida? I think the best person that said so far, when people ask Dania Brooks, like, hey, were you recruited to go elsewhere? She goes, well, why do you want to leave Tampa Bay? And I'm like, I'm right with you. So that's the reason I've been here for so many years. You have opportunities that open up, but man, every time I fly back into Tampa Bay, Jay, I'm like, I live here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, that's pretty good.
A little different than Long Island, my brother. A little different.
Well, now, Robert Moses Field 6 in the summertime. That was, that wasn't bad, right?
You got that right. Yeah, I used to play softball at Jones Beach, man.
Jones Beach.
Mosquitoes would kill me, man. Hey, we're playing a doubleheader at Jones Beach. You're like, oh my God, really? We'd have that off spray on our head. It'd be crazy, man.
If the wind wasn't blowing, you would chow.
You got that right.
If the wind was coming off the water, you're okay.
Mosquitoes bigger than pigeons out there, man. Yeah, it's funny you say that because I say that to a lot of people. I go, I've been saying this the last 3-4 years. Now's the time to get on the bandwagon for USF if you haven't. But just look at Jose Fernandez and Ken Eriksen. They're just putting their hands up like, we've been here this whole time. We've been trying to tell you. Before I let you go, what's kind of the goal for this season with you, with the girls? And, you're just looking at a team that's played so well this year. How do you make sure that you maintain down the stretch to put yourself in a position to really do some big things come postseason time?
Yeah, we're always in a situation at the end of the year where you've got the run stretch right now. The run stretch is usually against really good teams in your conference coming down to the conference tournament. You're always going to have a team like Florida mixed in the midweek. And then you've got an academic team that's a 3.6 plus GPA team that has finals and papers coming up here in the next 2-3 weeks, right? People forget about that.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you've got not just that, but okay, when school ends, is there a big girl job waiting for me? And when's my job interviews and all those type of things? So how do you manage all that? You manage it by understanding it and making sure that less is more. Okay. You don't give them too much on the practice schedules. You don't give them too much. We've already done that. And so we're prepared for those type of things. And so we kind of ease up a little bit during practice. You're not bang, bang, bang down their throats all the time. And rest and recovery is very important. So hopefully the formula continues to be successful.
Well, whatever you've been doing this year and throughout your career, you've been doing it right, my friend. And as Ken likes to tell everybody, it's always on Long Island, not in Long Island. He is the man. Coach Ken Eriksen, USF softball, thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun. We'll do it again for sure sometime. Best of luck, not just this week, but the rest of the season, my friend. Talk soon.
Thanks, Jay. Appreciate you.
You got it, pal. The one and only Ken Eriksen, man. We are so lucky. Those are the guys, when people ask me about the leaders of our community, Ken Eriksen is one of those guys. It's not just about being a coach, it's about being a leader. And just listen to some of the things that he had to say about coaching Georgina Corrick and coaching Josie Foreman and Dania Brooks. Like, why would you go anywhere else? Like Dania Brooks said, why would you go anywhere else? He is the man. Love that guy. He's the man. Just want to make sure that I have everything for you. Any breaking news? I got nothing. Another player recruited going to USF, former UCF linebacker DJ McCormick, 3-year prospect out of high school in the class of 2024. There we go. It just seems like there's so many different people committing to USF. Look at the class of Brian Hodgson. I know that Joey Knight just wrote an article. It's on the Tampa Bay Times of just the teams completely different. Coach Cooper just said everyone looks to be an option for the Gold Bolts in Game 1 except Bjorkstrand. I think so. One is teetering. It's really unfortunate that we don't have Ollie, but these few days we've have been welcome for our team just to rest and heal a bit before we hope will be for a long run. One is teetering. You would have to think that it's Glendenning or Chafee. Hopefully, both those guys will be available. Oh, no. All right. Everything else is good. All right, we're going from there. All right, you guys ready? Are you ready? Let's get into WrestleMania 41. Okay, here is my take on everything. If you guys missed it, you missed a fantastic card. Let me take a sip of my drink here. Make sure you follow me on social media at Recher. Especially during hockey time, man. Playoff hockey is just another animal. All right, let's start with night 1, WrestleMania 41 there in Sin City in Las Vegas. And we start with Jey Uso and Gunther for the World Heavyweight Championship. And Jey Uso wins it with a sleeper hole. I love the entrance and people going crazy. I like the fact that Jey actually wrestled Gunther. But I thought the ending was rushed. Now, I know that Gunther isn't known to be able to handle submissions. We saw it when he lost to Ilya Dragunov years ago. But the fact is, like, it was very anticlimactic. And yeah, that may fit in with how, what type of wrestler he is and how he's not able, and he taps quickly. Like, that's not great for television. That's not great for live audiences, because just look at the majority of the stadium and the people at home didn't know that. Like, I knew it after somebody brought it up to me and I remembered that, but you don't want that type of what just happened. You want to know exactly what's going on. You don't want to question it all. The build to the finish is so important. I mean, it's what you build the entire match around. Look at literally every other match at WrestleMania. I mean, big miss there, in my opinion. You got to give the people, like, the build, the crescendo, and then everybody going crazy. And it was just like, oh, Jey won? Jey won, yeah, cool. Everybody was happy. They wanted to cheer that. They wanted to be happy. They wanted to celebrate that moment. And it fell flat. It fell flat. It was great to see Jey get his win and Jimmy to be there to celebrate, but the finish was just to me. War Raiders and New Day up next. Eric and Ivar, so damn consistent, even though they look like an 80s/90s type of tag team. They can get in there with anybody, and they lay it in thick. They are physical as hell. I really love to see Kofi and Xavier win the titles once again. When you have a big-time character change, when you see a team like this that were baby faces for so long, a decision like this to put the belts on them, cement their heel turn. No question why they did it. Look at where it's led them. They're crushing it right now. So good for Kofi and Xavier Woods. And, you'll probably see those two teams run it back again. Next up, Jade Cargill and Naomi. This was a huge spot for both of these women. I think they did really well. I was a little hesitant because this is a big spot for Jade without the safety net of, a tag team partner but this match did exactly what it needed to do. Jade had some incredibly strong moves. She picked up the win. I feel like this isn't over. I love heel Naomi. I thought she showed that why she was the veteran, right? That she was able to kind of help and lead Jade through this match. And, when you compare this match to the Tiffany Stratton-Charlotte Flair match, I actually like this one better. I thought they did a better job. I thought they had better flow. I thought they told a better story than Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair, which is a little bit surprising to me. we'll see where the future holds for Jade and Naomi. I'd love to see Bianca get involved with this a little bit, and I think that's why Bianca is getting booed still a little bit. It doesn't help her that she's going up against two big baby faces and Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, and more on that match in a little bit. But I also think that people still want to see her have a full heel turn and join up with Naomi and say, yeah, we did this on purpose. Next up, Jacob Fatu and LA Knight. Jacob wins the U.S. Championship. Great call. Fatu way over and an insane athlete. A really solid match between these two guys, but definitely has me thinking, what's next for LA Knight? And when guys lose a mid-card title, it can propel them upward on the card, like we saw with Gunther last year. He loses at WrestleMania to Sami Zayn, Intercontinental Championship in the rear view, King of the Ring, wins the World Heavyweight Championship, and, the rest is history. But I feel like LA Knight is in no man's land right now. Where does he go from here? The U.S. title, he didn't really, it was back and forth with him and Shinsuke, and now him losing it to Jacob Fatu, and where does LA Knight go from here? He's not getting any younger. I know I think the gimmick might be wearing off on some people a little bit. He's got to find a new way to kind of reinvent the wheel a little bit here, and maybe a fresh coat of paint on LA Knight. He needs something. Next up, Rey Fenix and El Grande Americano. A solid match. It really was. It just lacked the emotion and the storyline to keep everyone invested. And you guys, if you know me, I'm a huge Rey Fenix fan, and I was glad to see him in that spot. Just the best that they could do on short notice. The story is not over between El Grande Americano and Rey Mysterio and the guys, but when Rey gets hurt on Friday and hurts his groin, it's tough to kind of throw anybody in there that really is able to kind of carry it over. And it was solid, but it just, you need more. It's a long show. You got to be able to tell a story. So great physical action, but not probably as good as it would have been if it was Rey Mysterio and El Grande Americano. Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. Now, and again, I want to hear from you. What do you guys think of the weekend? What do you think of WrestleMania? StreamYard.com/9KDSHF8V3I. Get on there and join in on the conversation. I'm not hating. I'm not. But this, for my money, may have been the worst match of WrestleMania weekend. It's really weird to see so many people give this match high marks after the fact when people were crapping all over it on social media during the match. The only other thing that people really crapped all over was the ending of night two, and more on that in a bit. Charlotte did everything she could to keep this thing together. I just don't think Tiffany had enough ring time to make this thing flow like it needed to. Now, I know Tiffy is young, and I'm not holding it against her again. I'm not hating. It's just, this was a big, big step up for her. And she is going to get better, but I'm just calling a spade a spade. Again, I'm not hating. There were just some weird moments in that match where they looked like they lost the timing, and it looked like more of a dance than a fight. And I also think the lack of distinguishing a heel and a babyface here hurt. It didn't do it for me. And I know I'm not the only person that felt that way. There is it just felt off. And I know Adam, thank you, Adam. Charlotte and Tiff felt a step off. I'm with you. Night one main event was the best part of the weekend. More on that here in a bit. But yeah, it just didn't have that right kind of, the ingredients weren't right in the recipe to really have that match take it to the next level. Finally, the main event from night one, Seth Rollins beats Roman Reigns and CM Punk with the help of Paul Heyman. I hate to say, I told you so, but go back and watch our roundtable from Friday with David Shealy and Eddie Encina, Corey Long, Matt Matera, JC Allen. There was a great chance that this was going to happen. So even though I wasn't in shock, and I know a lot of people said that this could happen, I'm just so glad that they did it. And then the way that they did it. Everyone got their offense in. Everybody looked fantastic. There was a lot of incredibly close false finishes. Roman flying over the barricade to take both those guys out was a sight to see. I love that Seth tried to get him to do the kind of shield powerbomb through the table, and it looked like they were going to do it, and then he rocked Seth in his face. I thought they crushed it. One of the two best matches of the weekend, and I can't wait to see where Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman goes from here. I feel like in the last week or two, Seth Rollins really came to the forefront. And those of you that kept saying, like, oh, he's the third wheel, you weren't watching the last week and a half. because the last week and a half is when Seth really was like, all right, this story's about me. And that promo that he cut Friday night on SmackDown, go back and watch it. It was one of the, that to me was one of the best promos of the year, probably in the last couple of years. Sitting there in the ring saying that, oh, yeah, CM Punk loves you guys so much. He didn't come back here first. He went to AEW. He didn't say AEW. He said he went to AEW first. And now he's back here because somebody wrote him a big fat check. I've been here. I've been sacrificing all this time. And everybody just kept Roman this, Roman that, Roman this, Roman that. All I do is sacrifice for you guys all the time. Just like I sacrificed last year when my stepdad was dying of cancer and I tore everything in my knee and I was there as a shield for Cody Rhodes to help him beat Roman Reigns. Stop me when I'm telling lies, like CM Punk line, like crush that promo. And I cannot wait to see how his character evolves into like one of the greatest of all time. Like this is his moment. This is a moment that a lot of the second tier guys don't get. And I think you look at like Macho Man and you look at maybe like an Edge. Those are the guys that maybe they were always going to be that 2, right? A workhorse, but always a 2. I think this is the opportunity for Seth to really climb that mountain and be, hey, why am I not in the conversation for one of the greatest of all time? I love it, and I cannot wait to see what happens tonight. And I say one of top 2 when it comes to the matches this weekend because the night that started night 2, the fight that started night 2, Io beats Bianca and Rhea. Bravo, ladies. Bra-freaking-vo. That match was as perfect a match that you're going to see. I honestly think it's, now that I've had time to kind of decipher the whole thing 18 hours later or so, I think it's one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. The fact that these 3 ladies could be so on point with their timing, their physicality, their facial expressions, everything. They were able to do more with 3 than like Tiffany and Charlotte were able to do with 2. They didn't miss a step. We're going to be talking about that match for the rest of the time. Love that Io went over. Hate that Bianca took the pin because I thought you could have really did something with that undefeated streak. I know she would have lost the match if, Rhea took the pin, but she didn't get pinned, so you could always kind of go with that. I just, fantastic. Phenomenal, man. There was just no let up. Night 2 to me was significantly better than night 1. And a big reason why is because the timing, even if you just compare it with the first match in night 1 with the Jey Uso and Gunther, the timing for everything was great. The entrances were fantastic. And the way that it finished with hitting the finish and then Io coming in with the moonsault and just unbelievable match and an A+, no doubt. Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre up next in a Sin City street fight. Now, when it comes to credit, I might give these 2 guys the most credit. I think it's the most underrated match of the weekend. This match could have fallen flat after an incredible first match. And also, street fights sometimes can get a little wonky. They can do too much walking around, and there's just too much gaga, not enough physicality. I thought that these dudes both delivered in a big way. Drew live tweeting was on brand for him after winning the Slammy for his activity on social media. He did it last year, obviously, as well. Priest was giving Drew all that he could handle, and you don't see that very often. Usually, Drew just towers over these guys, and there's such a clear, discernible difference between the physicality and the power between Drew and whoever he's with. You saw it with Seth, you saw it with CM Punk. You didn't see that with a guy like Damian Priest. And the finish was brutal. The Claymore through the chair, like you saw it, you heard it, you felt it. Again, most underrated match of the weekend. Fantastic job by 2 pros. That's in a tricky spot. Really tricky spot, and I don't know if many people in the company would have been able to pull off what Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest did. Next up, the Fatal 4-Way for the Intercontinental Championship. This match did not stop. Got a little wonky, I think, at some point where I was just kind of looking around like, all right, what's happening next? The Bronze Spear spot on the table from one table to the other is another viral moment for him. Poor Carlito. But I wonder, like, at what point there's a lot of, great spears and a lot of viral moments, and those things will always live on in people's heads. But I wonder if you kind of find that balance where you're overdoing it with Braun, because I think it could hinder him in certain ways, right? If they treat it like the way we saw it with Randy Orton with the RKO, then yeah, I think he'll be fine. But I don't want him losing either, right? He's going to be a world champion. So how do you find that balance of still having viral moments, but he's not taking losses? He's taking a ton of losses here, losing his belt to Jay and now losing it once again. I know he didn't get pinned, but I just wonder where you go with Braun Breaker. The future's bright. He's the future of the business. I'm very curious. Where does he go from here? Does he go back to the IC title race? Does he try to maybe challenge Jay for the World Heavyweight Championship? I'll be keeping a close eye on that. Dominic Mysterio, Dirty Dom winning, and the way Dom won was fantastic. Beating Finn with the splash after the coup de grace. He beats his Judgment Day teammate. That is about to be combustible. Only thing I didn't like, it was kind of the same finish as the first match, right? Like EO comes in and Dom comes in. It's kind of the same thing. Dom is so over right now. He went from, that's why the best baby faces are guys that you hated for so long. And I know people are like, oh, they didn't really hate Dom. They just love booing him. No, people didn't like him. People didn't like Dom because of what he did to Rhea. And, there's still some people looking at him kind of like a Nepo baby. You're only here because of your dad, which he is. But to his credit, he balled out. And that time when he was wrestling Raw and NXT and SmackDown, he was the North American champion. Like, he really cut his teeth. And right now, he's one of the most entertaining guys. You definitely tune in when Dom Mysterio's on the TV. And I love that he ran back down to the ring to celebrate. That's a babyface move. And his interview after the fact with the post-fight show and getting celebrated by the fans, like that's legit. He's definitely one of the big winners from the weekend. Next up, say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry. What a great spot for Joe Hendry as the mystery opponent for Randy Orton. I didn't think it was going to be Aleister Black or Rusev, because this guy had to have taken an L. And we were having this discussion on Friday as well, and I just knew it had to be somebody different, somebody that was just gonna be elevated just because they were in that spot. It didn't matter if they lost or not, and this is exactly why Joe Hendry was the right guy. Had that relationship. He's the TNA champ. We saw him in NXT. People love him. A lot of viral moments. And this is exactly what you needed. No harm in him taking the loss. He gets his stuff in. Pose, RKO, 1, 2, 3. Randy Orton picks him up. RKO again. He does his own little pose thing. Everybody wins. Well done. I feel like so many times in WrestleMania the last couple of years, it's got to be a 15-minute match and then 25 minutes and a 15-minute match. And where's the backstage segments? We don't see them as much anymore. That's some of the best parts of WrestleMania. Some of the backstage segments, just a quick chat, a quick match, something that's a little bit of a Gaga type of thing. I mean, we've seen it in years past where, Johnny Knoxville was in there, and you saw when Jason Kelsey and Lane Johnson got in there. That stuff is good. Mix it in, pepper it in. I love it. I thought they couldn't have done that any better. AJ Styles and Logan Paul did not really give me that wow factor I was expecting. I love the double Styles clashes. But why is Karrion Kross in this spot? I don't, if he's going to be involved at all, put him in the freaking match. And Karrion Kross is growing. He is growing. And if you didn't see what happened at the end, I don't know. Yeah, it was with Megan Morant and Sam Roberts. And he cut a promo about Logan Paul and AJ Styles. You need to go watch this. And watching that, it was very reminiscent of when The Miz freaked out on talking smack on Daniel Bryan. And after that, Miz went on that run. He was the world champion again. I think we're in line to seeing Karrion Kross. Maybe they give him the name Killer Kross again. That guy needs to be on TV more. Because I think the biggest winner out of that whole thing was actually what happened after with Kross. AJ and Logan, I love AJ Styles, one of my favorite guys of all time. It didn't have that wow, like, oh my gosh, that we've seen from Logan Paul and AJ Styles matches. I just thought it was slightly off. Women's tag match, I don't like what they did to Bayley here. And Triple H did say in the press conference, like, oh, she's fine. She's a true pro. She's not fine. She's not fine. You're telling me you're taking off a future first ballot Hall of Famer and you're replacing her with Becky Lynch. Why couldn't they have done that with Lyra Valkyria? She already has a title. I think you missed right here, because now all you're doing is you're overshadowing Lyra. She's got 2 belts. That's fine. All anybody is talking about is Becky coming back. Look at the post-match press conference. I thought it was so cute to have her daughter Rue there. That was great, but that was what the whole conference was about. The last question was to Lyra. That was it. Everything was Becky and Rue and doing their thing, which was great, but why introduce these mid-card belts for the girls if you're not going to highlight them? Like, I love that Chelsea's the champion. She didn't fight on the card. Why wasn't like Naomi the champion then, and have her and Jade fight for the belt? That would have made sense. You have so many women on the roster, and you're taking your Intercontinental champion, and now she's the tag team champion. Like, there's way too many women available. I just think you're misplaying your hand here, and you're overshadowing Lyra. I don't get it. I don't get it. I think this is one of the big things that Triple H needs to change. You have to find a way to make these mid-cards. Like, why do you have I think that Jade Cargill and Naomi deserve to have a match at WrestleMania. No doubt about it. But if you're at the point where they have a match and neither your Intercontinental champion and your U.S. champion, those belts are not being defended, you're missing the boat. You're missing it. All right, last up, John Cena and Cody Rhodes. So Cena wins, 17-time world champion. The match, and listen, Peter Rosenberg said it himself. He said it was a clunker. And if you have one of your guys that is one of the voices of the World Wrestling Entertainment, say that it's a clunker, that is not good. I don't care what angle you were going for. I don't care what type of story you were trying to tell. The fact that one of the voices of WWE called it a clunker is not good. There is other ways that you could have gone about this to get the desired result. Now, you look at this and say, well, Cena did say he wanted to ruin wrestling. Okay, fine. But I don't know if people were mad. Like, did you evoke emotion? That's what it's all about. It's not always about winning or losing, right? It's about invoking emotion. You want people to be so happy that they're crying. They're so pissed off that they're like, they're so angry. It was kind of, that was it. That's the last thing that you want. You could be pissed that Roman Reigns or CM Punk didn't win in night 1, right? But the way that ended, it was like, wow, you're there really happy to see that, or you're pissed off that Paul Heyman turned his back on 2 of his best friends. At the end of night 2, it was like, Cena won. But is that the way they could have done it? Like, he was still getting cheered as he was walking down the ramp, and it looked like he was holding in, waving at the crowd or holding in a smile. Why turn him heel if that was the ending of WrestleMania? Why turn him heel if he was going to win the championship and get cheered anyway? How come we didn't see The Rock? The Rock is the biggest star in the world. Why was Elimination Chamber, the ending to Elimination Chamber, more impactful than the end of night 2 of WrestleMania? I don't care if it was an Avengers type ending like we saw last year. We know that it wasn't going to be like that. But just having The Rock walk out there would have at least tied everything together. You didn't hear the name Rock mentioned, but I think one time from Cody and John Cena in the build-up to this. Why was he so involved? Why was he at Bad Blood? Why was he at Elimination Chamber? I don't hate that Travis Scott was out there. He has to be out there. He was part of it. But if you're telling me that Travis Scott has to be out there, then so does The Rock. Because that photo of them standing there with Travis against the ropes, Rock on one side, John Cena there, while Cody Rhodes is on the mat at the end of Elimination Chamber, battered, bloody, bruised. You're setting the table for what you're telling your fan base. This is what WrestleMania is going to entail. You like this? This is going to be even better. And it wasn't. You could have told a much better story and still had Cena win and still piss people off, but just, it was almost like you were insulting people's intelligence. And for this age of wrestling, for a guy like Triple H, who is very cognizant of that, he understands what people are saying. And to have your post-match analysis and the post-fight shows talking about, I can't believe Travis Scott did this. No, it's not about Travis Scott doing what he did. It's about The Rock not being involved. It's about it just being just kind of like a normal 1993 storyline where the ref goes down, the turnbuckle comes off, and then the heel wins. And that's it. We wanted better. We wanted more extravagant. We wanted more over-the-top storytelling, and we didn't get that. Now, John Cena goes in at the end of the night and does his press conference and says he's going to answer questions. And then he says, oh, that's a clickbait question. I'm not going to answer that. Next. Once you do that 3 or 4 times, then it becomes funny and endearing. And people are like, haha, we're in it on the bit. He didn't come off as a dick. You want him to be a dick. You're missing it. You're missing this whole thing. And again, if you're getting to a point where people are cheering him anyway, or they're laughing at what he's doing, because they like the character, you shouldn't have turned him heel anyway. Turn him heel after the fact. He wins the title and then he turns his back on everybody. Or have him lose and then find that he can only be a champion again if he turns babyface and learns the error of his ways. I thought there was just so many things wrong with that main event. And I'd much rather just sit there and be like, hey, everything was great. I may have slightly disagreed with this and disagree with that, but I just thought the way that everything went about, I think they missed the boat. For as great as night 2 started, I thought it just let a lot to be desired. And now, regardless of whether you're pissed off about the main event, you're happy about the main event, I think the worst thing is to be apathetic, to be indifferent. And that's what a lot of fans were coming out of night 2. The Rock needed to be there. The fact that he wasn't there, I think, is a huge miss. Again, if you say that he's not going to be there, I think that helps. But the fact that everybody's waiting and then he doesn't show up, you're like, what the hell are we doing here? So a lot of good things coming out of WrestleMania. A lot of big winners. My 5 winners were Dom, Rollins, Cena, Io, and Jey Uso. So, we'll see. Monday Night Raw is going to be fantastic tonight, so I cannot wait to see what is going on. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me. Back in action tomorrow again, 1 o'clock tomorrow, because morning skate is later on. So 1 o'clock tomorrow at Amalie Arena, Game 1 tomorrow night between the Lightning and the Florida Panthers. It should be a good one. We'll have audio from John Cooper, audio from some of the players. So make sure you don't miss it. 1 p.m. tomorrow right here on the Jay Recher Podcast. A big thank you to our guests on the program today, including Ian Beckles and Ken Eriksen. What a great chat with the USF softball coach. He is insane. Just a really, really good dude altogether. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. Like and subscribe on YouTube. And make sure you head on over to iHeart, iTunes, and Spotify. I'm everywhere. Download the audio of the podcast as well, because every little bit helps. No Rays, no Lightning tonight. It's going to be a little weird. A lot of great high school baseball in action. So make sure you go check them out as well. But tomorrow is going to be a big day here in Team Tampa Bay. All right. I love you all. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow. Remember, 1 p.m. live from Amalie Arena. It's the